So hi, welcome to All the Way Podcast episode 9. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about inspiration. The one thing I want you to get out of this episode is never get all your inspiration all from one place. Okay, let's get started. The definition of inspiration, the dictionary definition, is the process of being mentally stimulated to do or feel something. And hopefully with these podcasts, I'm hoping that this will mentally stimulate you and make you go away and do something and act. I want you to go away and do something. I don't want you to just feel good and say, oh, wow, what a nice bit of entertainment. I want you to go away and feel like I've got to go away and do something. So where do we get our inspiration from? During lockdown, earlier in 2020, I, like a lot of people, had a lot of downtime. And there's only so much you can do, especially when you're living by yourself, as you can't go and visit friends and family or have them come and visit you. And I heard a quote that really resonated with me, that you become the product of the 5 people you hang around with the most. Or show me your friends and I'll show you where you'll end up. And so, as I couldn't see anybody in those months of lockdown, I said to myself, okay, if I could pick anybody in the world, past or present, dead or alive, to come round and chill with me so that they can be part of those 5 people that I hang around the most with, and I can ask them questions about life, who would I have? Especially if I wanted to go away and accomplish some of the things that they've done and just do things the way that they've done things. So I said, okay, I want Rio Ferdinand, I'm having Sir Alex Ferguson, Muhammad Ali, Dag Heward-Mills, Sarah Blakely, Mark Zuckerberg, TD Jakes, Jay-Z, Kobe Bryant, and so on and so on. So I started to play the interviews of them being asked questions that typically I would ask them anyway about their life and how they've accomplished what they've accomplished. And so during lockdown, it was almost like they would just be playing in the background, and it's almost like I've got them sat with me, chatting at the dinner table, just to find out how they do what they do. And I believe it's our responsibility to observe and be attentive so that we can spot and adopt certain things that they've done for ourselves. One of my favourite interviews was of Rio Ferdinand, to be fair, and he said that when he came to Man United, when he first signed for them, instead of thinking, okay, I've made it, I can chill and I'm nice, that's it now, I've signed for the biggest club in the world. He looked at the people in the dressing room who he played with, and that was a pretty amazing team. And what they did was great. So he said to them himself, what was it that they've done, or what was it that he likes about that person that he wanted to adapt for himself? Because he was inspired and stimulated mentally to go and do something. So he said, okay, I'll give you an example that what he said. He said Ryan Giggs was the best person when it came to recovery. When it came to, being injured, or when it came to after a training session, his recovery was second to none. And he did stuff like yoga and just all these different techniques to help him be the best he could at recovery. So Rio Ferdinand says, okay, I like that in Ryan, so I'm going to adopt that for myself. So that's just one example, and I could go on and on of what he said, but it's a fantastic interview. So that made me think, well, who inspires us? And I was thinking that we should never really look at one person as the be-all, end-all and the perfect example of inspiration. And the reason why I say that is because you may enjoy what that person does, but first you need to go away and understand who they are before you can confirm, okay, that's the kind of person I want to be, and everything that comes along with being that person. So I'll give you a perfect example of mine. My mum and dad last year celebrated 30 years being married, 30 years. And I know from personal experience of obviously living with them for a long time back in the day that they've gone through a lot together. And I look at them as like a fantastic example of how to hold down a relationship through thick and thin. And that they inspire me in that respect. But I would never look to them as my inspiration for how to dress when it comes to fashion, because we're a completely different generation. And I would never look to them and think, oh, how do I... because you've got things right in your relationship, that means that you're going to get things right when it comes to your fashion sense. It doesn't necessarily work like that. So I don't look to them for how to dress, because we've got completely different styles. And another example I give of people who've inspired me is Muhammad Ali and Floyd Mayweather. Now, when it comes to boxing, I really think that sport is second to none when it comes to hard work and dedication. Anybody who does any kind of fighting, and it's just one-on-one in the ring, whether it's MMA, Muay Thai, all that kind of stuff, or just boxing, I truly believe that there's not a sport like it where you really have to be hard work and dedication. Because especially in team sports, sometimes you may have an off day and the rest of the team can carry you and you can still get the win or the result that you'd like. Whereas in boxing, you can't afford to have a slack day on when it comes to game time, because when you step in that ring, it's all about you and that other person. And if you've not been working hard, it will show up, and it will show up in the result as well. So I look at those two as, being perfect examples of hard work and dedication, because they got to the top of their respective fields. But I wouldn't necessarily look to those two on their spiritual practice, because I don't know if they're religious or not, and that's not kind of the thing that I want to be associated with. And I look at also examples like Sarah Blakely or Jay-Z, or loads of different people who've accomplished big things, and I take little bits from those people, but I'll never look at that one person and think I want to be like them completely in their entirety. And also I look at examples who are actually close to me. When I say close, I mean geographically, people who are local. There are different Instagram pages that I follow at the minute who I do look at and think, yeah, they do inspire me. And I'll just give you a couple of examples. One's called Designing Number 43, who's an architect who lives in Derby, who's renovating their house and making it look nice. And it just gives you like inspiration for, if you want to build your own house by design, this is kind of the way that you can do it. Tour of Number 74 as well is a really good one that inspires me to think, oh wow, if I wanted to completely knock down my house and change it from the inside out to how I'd like it, then again that kind of inspires me as well. Kid Karam, I hope I've pronounced that right, breakdancer from Derby. Ellie Jocelyn, the fashion blogger. Eyes, the artist, music artist, doing like ciphers in global ciphers with different artists from all across the world. These guys do inspire me as well, and the reason why I mention all of those is because they're local and they're from Derby, all of them. And I just think that's a real big inspiration for me, showing that you can be from, it doesn't matter where you're from, you can start your own thing and make a difference. And as I mentioned earlier, when I mentioned Jesus, I think that's the only person really who ticks all the boxes of, okay, that's the perfect all-round person that's a good example to try and be like. And it is quoted that the Beatles even said that they became bigger than Jesus when they were at their peak. And even Michael Jordan referred to himself as the Black Jesus, because everybody knows that is the perfect example of the top creme de la creme. This is the kind of person I want to be like all round. So in the last episode, I mentioned benchmarking. It was all about benchmarking. So I wanted to talk about, just briefly, what the difference is between inspiration and benchmarking. Benchmark is the tangible metrics. So, for example, I want to make 800 free throws a day like Kobe Bryant. That is a tangible metric because you've got numbers involved, and there's a way that you can actually measure that. Whereas inspiration is more emotional, and that's a lot harder to measure. And that is the clear distinction between the two. Benchmarking is looking at somebody and thinking, what did they do? Whereas inspiration is looking more to who they are and how they did what they did. So inspiration then becomes more like a daily practice, and how, emotions change from day to day. The same emotions that you had one day may be different to the next. How you feel now may be different to how you feel tomorrow. Just depends on how you wake up. So how do you influence that to make sure that you stay inspired daily? And it is a daily practice, because there's a great quote from Jim Rohn, who's talking about inspiration as well. And he said it's good to be inspired and give inspiration, but it's also better to be educated as well, because education keeps you from being an idiot. And if I motivate someone who isn't educated, then I've got a motivated idiot. And I'm paraphrasing what he said, but really he's basically saying that daily inspiration is good, but it's also to keep educated as well. So I'll mention how we can stay educated a little bit later on. And inspiration is like, I'll give you an example. It's like brushing your teeth. You don't brush your teeth once and then think, okay, I don't need to brush my teeth again. It's a daily discipline. Because if you don't, you can brush your teeth once and then wait until your teeth are yellow and practically falling out before you brush them again. You're asking for trouble. So it's a daily thing that you need to do to keep topped up. And one of the best ways of keeping yourself topped up with inspiration is watching and listening to good examples. And some of the ways that you can do that is by reading their books, listening to their interviews, and talking to them. If you can't get hold of them individually, personally, then you can just listen to their books and read up on them. So a good way to look for inspiration, especially the people that you love and look up to, is when was the last time you read one of their books or watched one of their interviews and gone away and found out why they do what they do, and what exactly is it that's left an impression on you. Which leads finally into season 2. So this is the last episode of season 1. And in season 2, we're going to be looking at all the examples that I've experienced, people local to me who I find as inspiration going forward. So keep your ears open and look out in season 2, because I'm going to be bringing you people who've really accomplished great things and who I've looked at as personal inspirations to me. So just to finish off, inspiration is a process of being mentally stimulated to act or feel something. We can look at who inspires us, but not get all our inspiration from just one person or just one place. And inspiration is a daily practice. And in season 2, we'll have good examples of those people who inspire us. So look out for season 2, and keep your ears open and eyes peeled, and I'll hopefully be inspiring you guys to act and do.